Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my new friend, James Bonato. Hi, James.
Hey, good morning to you.
Yes, well, I am so excited to introduce James's work to all of you. He has created 3 different documentaries, and I was introduced to the third documentary film by one of the actors in the film. And I'm so glad because this is really a work of the heart. So, James, why don't you tell us? So how did you get involved in documentaries? How did you decide to do that?
Documentaries actually comes from the bottom of my heart. I want to make a difference. I want to tell other people's story, and it's gone beyond being a hobby of mine. It's just something that I display from my heart.
But you've done 3 documentaries, and today we're going to get to talk about your new documentary that actually I just looked on YouTube, and there's 43, almost 44,000 people have seen it already on YouTube alone. And that movie is called Peace on Both Sides of the Gate. So your first 2 movies, I haven't gotten to watch those on your website, but this movie, this NDE movie, how did you get inspired to check out the near death experience stories?
Believe it or not, I was inspired to make this film watching YouTube videos. Can you believe it? Yeah.
Of course.
I was inspired by a couple of videos that I saw on YouTube. One in particular was done by Chris Batts,
Yeah.
who, by the way, is in my film. Thank you
Yes.
very much. He is. And then when I watched his, I kind of was exhausted and exhilarated at the same time. Can you feel
Oh.
me? And I remember when it was over, I just stood up out of my chair and I had this fizzy soda-like material running through my body, and I felt very effervescent. And I said, "You know what? Now I know what my next documentary film is going to be. It's going to be,
Oh,
yeah, it's going
an
to be on."
assignment. That
Yes,
sounds
yes,
like
it was a
an
time. I says,
assignment, doesn't it?
yes, it's
And
going
did
to
it
be.
feel like an assignment, kind of?
Oh, absolutely, it felt like assignment. I'll get into that, but yeah, I knew that my next film was going to be on near-death experience, and I did a lot of research on it. And quite frankly, I didn't have the slightest idea of what's going to happen to me when I pass away. I had thought about it throughout the years and maybe paused on it for a moment, but it never really sunk in. But when I started to doing the research, I said, I'm going to make a film. And by the end of the film, everybody will have the slightest idea of what happens when you move on. And it basically was a feeling that is a little hard to describe, but I go into the film. I start with all of the people, all of my movie stars, so to speak, telling their near
Yes.
death experience. They go into great detail, and we go through it. The last two-thirds of the film is actually the pearls of wisdom, okay,
Oh,
that you're
okay.
going to get. I mean, one of them is you're not going to be scared of death anymore, and you're going to feel these little pearls of wisdom throughout. And there are many of them through the film. Um, Now, what they brought back, these pearls of wisdom that I'm talking about, a lot of them are not original, okay? Like, for instance, um, uh, forgiveness. We know that when people have strife, forgiveness is very healing, and it's a good way, it's a good step forward. Um, that's one thing. Learning to love yourself is, you have to, in order to love others, you have to learn to love yourself first. That's nothing new. That's been around for eons and eons, so it's not original stuff. But the way our NDEs bring that to the table, okay,
Yes.
the way they describe it, okay, is something quite special. It's like another spoke in the wheel of those lessons. And quite frankly, they show us how to implement it into today's life, right? And that's another reason why I made the film. I think my film differs from a lot of near death experience films is I actually take it a step further and we go into how we can implement it into our lives. And that's what they do. And that's where the key is. Okay.
That is.
And all five of them just hit it out of the park. And and I'm sure you know this because I know that you've interviewed a lot of NDEs, right?
Yes. Yeah. So
Um,
I'm a volunteer for the International Association for Near Death Experience. I've been volunteering for them. I think I'm on my fourth year.
oh, we're
So
gonna have to talk about that. I've been trying to get in with them, but as you may know, I did a lot of it. There's five people in my film, but there are many. There's
right,
thousands, hundreds of thousands of NDEs, and
right,
I found out that many of them were given a choice to come back. Now, if you think about that, I mean that's an amazing thing. If you have a choice between this timeless love that is beautiful beyond words, all five of them could not really describe that love.
right,
In my film, there weren't any words. Sharon Milliman said there are no words in the English language
right.
to describe this love, but a lot of them were crying and was trying to. I got the feeling of it, but they couldn't decide it that much uh, into. But if they had a choice between this timeless love that they couldn't describe and coming back to earth here where we stomp all over each other, think about that decision. And they chose to come back. They chose to come back because they cared and they
Right,
had a calling. They wanted to change a little bit of their corner of the universe that they could make a difference in. And
yeah,
that was a very gritty decision to do that. I mean, it was just selfless. And they do it just so powerfully. And they're heroes of mine.
right.
Anybody who has that choice and decides to help us and to go through all that pain coming back is amazing. Now, I took that concept and I ran with it. I tried not to inject too much of myself into the film, even though I wanted to. I wanted to take it into a certain direction,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I let the film flow the way it was supposed to do. I wanted you, the audience, to make your decision about near death experience. I didn't want to guide you and push you. So, and that was especially hard for me because I myself, or at least my wife tells me this all the time. I'm very much in touch with my feminine side. So, my hobbies are cats, writing poetry, and step aerobics. So if you're looking for an alpha male, I'm not it. But I tried not to persuade
oh,
anybody the film
that's
to go
funny.
that way. So that's the introduction to peace on both sides of the gate.
Oh, wonderful. Well, one of the things I wanted to share is the reason I'm so enamored and so glad that I'm part of Ions is that, and you experienced it because you were physically in the same room, videotaping these people, the energy of these people that come back is full of grace, and it's as though they've touched a different reality and they brought it back with them.
Yes, yes. I There's also self-actualization that I
Hmm.
felt from all five of them, and I had the pleasure of meeting all five in the matter of like 2.5 weeks, and it was one of my favorite parts of making the film was dealing with them. My favorite part of the making a film is the actual first moment when you come up with the idea to make the film.
Oh,
Okay,
that's, yeah,
it's because I'll tell you why. It's because everything is pure, your vision is clear, it's virgin almost, and it's not polluted by any of the variables that are certain to come. And we know
mhm,
that's going to come, and that's okay. But Once you pick the location, and once you start filming, and once you get the characters, and you're worried about lighting and audio and just everything else, and then you bring it to the editing suite and you're starting to edit it. Well, there's a little bit of drop off, okay? And
Right.
all filmmakers know that there's always a little bit of drop off once you start to make it. But it was tough to make it because the subject just alone, near death experience, is not something that 100% of the population is just going to flock to watch. Okay. It's a great topic. It's going to fascinate most people. There's always going to be that small group of like, watch it for 10 seconds ago. This is not for me. So
Right.
I knew that coming in, and that's okay. So I made the film, and I had to get into it myself. And that's where what you were
You,
talking about with the people, they certainly got into me. Uh, they certainly touched me to get into the film, and I was into to making the film so much that I wasn't going to let anything stop me from doing the film. But what was the alternative, Kathy? I mean, the alternative is to not make the film. And
well, the alternative is to, well, so we all get intuitions and get inspirations, but not everyone acts on it, and you act on it. So that's the thing. And then you generously shared it, so that more people could experience it rather than charge money for it. So this is a really a gift from your heart that you're sharing this incredible information. And the information is about the mystical side of life. It's not religious, it's mystical. And we all, or spiritual, either way you want to put it, what other words you want to use. And so but your documentary doesn't guide. It allows people to tell their story, and it puts words to things that they there aren't words for it. That's
yes,
what I like. I had a spiritually transformative experience. I did not have a near death experience. And I have never, it happened 17 years ago, almost 18 years ago, and I still don't have words. And so I listened to these guys to try to get words, but I wake up every morning and remember it.
yeah,
I'm just lucky I didn't have to get my body all mangled in order to.
yes. Oh my gosh, yes, a lot of them went through. You know, there was probably 1,000 different reasons to not make the film. Like, oh, that's going to take too much time. There's this variable and that variable. But uh, I ended up stepping up to the plate because I love the challenge of not only of filmmaking, but challenges in my personal life. If it's worth it, I'm gonna do it. I just never say no. I never want to come home and sit at the dinner table with a fork in my hand and pick up my food and go, well, I wonder what it would have felt like if I made that film. Well, I'm never going to have to experience that because I'm going to make that film. I'm always going to make that film, and in my personal life too. It's like baseball. You step up to the plate.
Yes.
I'm not going to have a pinch hitter. I'm not going to have take an intentional walk. I'm going to swing. I might hit a home run. I might strike out. Who cares?
Right.
And if you're thinking that if you're thinking that I've failed maybe a couple of times in my endeavors, you're absolutely right. I failed many times, especially in my personal life. But what did I do to make this film, Kathy? I went to Maine, New Jersey, West Virginia, California to make these films to get all of the five people in the film.
Right, right. And they're amazing. I mean, I the what I like about the design of it is I like how you were black and white and then you went to color like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I like that. And I liked how you didn't chop it up. So many of the documentaries or the films that are available, they ask the people all the same question and then they chop it all up.
Oh, I have something to say about that. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, that is a brilliant insight. That's and let me tell you how I got there. first of all, let me back up and tell you, there's a favorite line I have in the. There's a million favorite lines that I have in the film, but the one that I'm thinking about right now is was said by Chris Batts, and he said, "You work for God now," and it took him a couple of stages to get to that line. But I was sitting there behind the camera, asking questions, as you're saying. And when he gave me that answer, I said, "Well, that's not going to end up on the cutting room floor. That's going to be in the film, Mummy Dearest. I'm not cutting that line." But it reminded me of an axiom. It was, and I'm reading it here. God gives the hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. Well, I'm not trying to portray myself as one of his strongest soldiers. Sometimes I want to paint myself and think that I'm one of them. But there was that sentiment that Chris was talking about, and you just never want to give up. And there's many times that I wanted to give up in my life. But getting back to your point of the set questions, there were set questions, okay?
Okay.
But I had pre-interviewed all 5 of them before
Okay.
I went to see them. I talked to them on the phone for now to feel out their personality, right?
Right. Right.
So after I did that, I had, I think, maybe about 6 or 7 set questions. And then I had a second set of questions specifically for that person. Like, for example, I gave the cerebral questions to Peter Panagore because I wanted to play to his strengths. All right, and asking
He's
those type of questions.
amazing.
Yeah, and then for Jennifer Dean, who is a very, very, very dynamic individual, she's incredible. I had those set of questions for her, which she clung to. Then for the soft, heartfelt, emotional, deep questions, I gave to Sharon Milliman
Perfect.
because Sharon Milliman and I are like 2 peas in a pod. All right, we're both emotional people, and I gave her those sentimental questions, which she answered best. Okay, and then of course there's Brooke Grove. Oh my gosh, she wasn't almost going to be. She almost wasn't going to be in the film. I really was set on having 4 people in the film, and I was very sly about it. I snuck her in the film. If you've seen it, you know how I was sly about it.
Yes.
But she hit it out of the park, and thank goodness I made that decision to include her, and thank gosh that she volunteered because it was a great film, but the film is so great, really, because of Brooke Grove. She really tied things all together.
Right, right. Well, it's because of who she is, and she's just exquisitely beautiful. Besides that, but okay. So I just want people to know you're getting comments. The documentary is amazing, and James is phenomenal. And then we've got James was put on this planet to do this work. Yes, and then this is interesting. We are all, Samuel said, I'm serving vulnerable people today because of an inner experience I had growing up with a mom who showed kindness in all she did. So that's what we're touching on, is that your documentary opens the gate. You're talking about peace at both sides of the gate, but it opens the door or the gate or whatever pathway you want to use to your higher knowing and your heart of it, the heart of everything, because that's the conscious evolution that we're going through right now.
Well, the funny thing is, gosh, you've been really making some great comments here, but as a filmmaker, you always want to give people perspective. All right, you kind of want to change the way people. You want to make them think differently, which is probably wrong, but we get away with it because it's art. Film is art, and we can cheat a little bit. Maybe that's not okay in your personal life, and I've learned the hard way.
Okay.
I've tried to change people, and I had no business doing that. But in film, it's kind of okay. But one of the things that I'm proud of is I'm trying to bring out all of the other NDEers who have not public. They got to come out of the closet, and hopefully, this film is going to say, "Oh, look, people are doing it," and it's becoming more mainstream every day. You know that, Kathy.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm thinking that a lot of people, NDEs, they're not going to say anything because, oh, I'm not going to say anything because people are going to think I'm kooky. They might say, "Oh, you're just imagining that. You may believe it in your head, but I use and there's a million." But I don't want them to be scared. I was talking to somebody, a friend recently, about placebo. It had nothing to do with near death experience or anything like that, but he was talking about placebo, how it helps people and how it's effective. And he goes, but it's still placebo. It's not real. And I don't think near death experience and peace on both of the guys, it has nothing to do with placebo. These are actual things.
Well, we're multidimensional beings having a human experience, but we don't always connect to the multidimensional parts of ourselves, which is our source, which is God, which is the universe, whatever words you want to use. And these people, their gate is wide open now to it. They have access to their multidimensionality. They may not have words, but you can feel it. I'm very sensitive. And when I go to these events, there's 500 people at these events, and a lot of them have had near death experiences. And you can just, the first time I went, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm home.
Ah, you know, I want to say something to that effect.
Okay.
These people, they really found me. This film found me. I didn't find the film. The film found me. I was not sitting at home trying to manipulate a thing to teach people what life is after death. No, it's those people, they found me. And certainly I want to bring solace to people who are going through losing a loved one, or maybe they
Right.
already have lost a loved one. And I want to bring solace to those people. But it's really these NDE people who bring it. They're the ones who bring it to the forefront. They're making the impact. I'm just the filmmaker. I'm just the guy behind the camera. Believe me.
No, you're not. No, you're not just. Okay, so everyone, James is being modest, so let's do this. Kim Murray wrote, James bubbles out love, is a tenacious seeker of the truth, a genuine person sprinkled with humor and an inspiration to bravely grab the ring.
Okay,
So,
Kathy, if you read that sentence, you wouldn't have had to told me that it was Kim Murray. I know she wrote that.
okay, well, she's president of your fan club. But anyway, what I wanted to say though is that there the opportunity now is for us to reevaluate everything in our lives and choose love. And that's what this actually Kim says, love you, James. Um, um, this actually allows you to get a little more inspired. And if you're sensitive like I am, feel their I feel where they go when they're talking about it. This isn't when you've had an experience like this, you can relive it and be back in it at any second because it's a feeling. It's not a thought. It's a place that you go inside of your heart, inside of your being. So you've captured that, James. It's not just words. They're back in. I mean, Peter Banagor is back in it. Chris is back in it. Brooke is. I mean, that's what I'm saying is your open heartedness captured that communication
Yes.
on film.
And it was so easy with these people. It was just a natural flow. It wasn't concocted. It wasn't manipulated or anything. So it was easy. It was still a very hard film to make, but it was very easy and flowed naturally. I want everybody to watch their film and make their own judgment about
Uh,
this near death experience thing. I don't want to jam it down their throat at all. I just want
right. This isn't a Michael Moore documentary.
right. I wanted to circle back to Peter Panagore.
Oh,
I quoted Chris Batts earlier, of course, and I well, I want to paraphrase Peter Panagore. He said something in the film in his near-death experience. He said that he felt there was somebody that he hurt and he caused pain.
Oh,
And he said in the near death experience, he was able to experience it from that person's feeling. He got to feel what they felt, the hurt. And he was also shown why he did what he did, but he got it from both sides. He was able to experience, first of all, that's incredible just as it is. But how it affected me is he explained, he says, hey, folks, in on this earth where we are now, to us the audience, we can take what I said, and why wait to feel that hurt? Then you can reach out to people today who maybe, I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want anybody to hurt me, but it's happened. And I feel now that Peter has spoken, I feel a responsibility to reach out to those people, because that way I don't have to experience it when I'm passed away, and the other people who, they don't have to feel it too. And I'll tell you, Kathy, it's very, very interesting, because I made this film at the lowest point of my life. I
oh,
was I was going through a very deep depression when I made this film. All right. I uh i just had an atrocious thing done to me by two friends who actually weren't friends. And that pain that I felt, I said, thinking about what Peter Panagore said, what if I caused that pain to somebody that I did way, way back in my life? And I thought of two people. One was from the 1980s
uh-huh.
that I remember hurting very, very much. And one was like from the early 2000s. So I reached out to them. Okay. And one of them welcomed me with open arms. He accepted my apology, and we talked for like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and it's fine. The other one didn't work out so well, but you see what I'm saying? This film is chock full of things that make you think, and that's just one for me. There's like 50 or 60 moments like that in the film that's gonna affect you. Okay, and it's probably going to be more than one, but that's the Peter Panagore moment. That's just one for me, and I took it and I ran with it.
Well, I there's one of the healers that I really enjoy out of Hawaii. He has these free prayers that he gives, and it's about forgive each other. It's actually forgive the other person and then forgive me, because you don't know what role you played, and so it's asking for God to help all of those entanglements to be cleared. And I as soon as I heard that, it was like, oh yeah, I need to forgive. They need to forgive me as well as me forgive them.
Yes.
It's two sides of the coin. Drew's put, you're not just anything, James. You're a conduit for telling these stories, and you were called to do this work. Kudos,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you so much. This is so. Oh, that's true. That quote was done by a very amazing man who has changed my life, and I've actually
Oh,
told him. He's one of the ones who got me out of my depression. I didn't know he was watching.
fantastic.
That's so neat that he's watching.
Yeah,
But yeah, Sharon Milliman touched on that about forgiving. And it was
right.
very, very, and she said it in such a beautiful way. I don't know if you've experienced Sharon Milliman, but she's so soft or whatever. And I've had so many comments like Drew. I'm kind of just gushing. It's like a glass, and you're pouring, water into it, and that's the pleasure and the happiness, and it's just overflowing right now.
Of
And this
course.
was, and there was a lot of feedback that I've had on the film. It's on my website. There's a feedback page. I wanted to read just a couple of them.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Whatever you want. I've been adding the banner down at the bottom of the videos so people can go to peaceonbothsidesofthegate.com.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
also in the comments, and hopefully you'll be able to just click on that and be able to watch it for free.
Yes, 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 indeed. Yeah, and you can see on that. Not only can you watch the movie, you can watch the full length videos of the interviews that I did with our five. You can see my other films, and you can. There's comments and a whole
And
bunch of things you can do.
can,
But
before you read that, can I
sure.
ask a question about that?
Mhm.
Why did you decide to show the full segments of each person on your website? Why did you do
Because it was impossible to edit all. I
that?
made that film into like an hour and 5 minutes, and oh my gosh, Peter Panagore alone talks to me for over 2 hours, and I'm like, how do I cut him? Everything he says is brilliant.
Yeah, he's
And
well, he's a mystic. He's an
yeah,
amazing
and
man.
I said, you know what? I'm going to put the uncut versions of all five of them, so you can watch. Not only can you watch the film, if you're really into it, you can watch the uncut versions. And people are
I'm really
watching.
into
There are
it.
people of them are watching them like crazy. Brooke Grove is going crazy. She has 5 figures of viewers just watching her thing alone, and she doesn't understand why people want to watch her. But she's amazing. So here's two here's a couple of feedbacks I got, maybe three, but um, I just watched the film today. And today was the perfect day for me to watch this because today is the 1 year anniversary of my mother's fall and hospitalization that ultimately took her life. This put me at great peace knowing that she was right all along about how much she was ready to die and had wanted her whole life to be with God. And that came from Peggy Van Scoik.
Okay.
And the other one here, this is so moving. Uh, I lost my husband of almost 42 years suddenly on October 27th, 2018. At the time, I had no belief in any higher, nor belief in anything after death. I thought dead was dead. I was bereaved. I know what that word means. I somehow stumbled upon a book with no religious overtones that suggested life continue after death. I devoured the books and have not stopped reading them about the continuous and consciousness since then. I'm book number 103. Goodness gracious. I I have also watched many videos, movies, and documentaries on the subject. Your documentary, Peace on Both of the Gate, is the best and the most touching video I've seen. Oh my gosh. Thank you for this. I do hope you will film a sequel. This is important work. I can't tell you how much that. And that was from Robin Ebaugh. And then there's this last one. I laughed, I cried, I got emotional, and then I saw your film. I'm kidding. I just was trying to add levity there.
Oh, well, see, the thing is that this subject, it was so perfect to have this film, this inspiration, and then you to fulfill the inspiration right at this time during lockdown and during this transition that we're in, because there was a fear of death. There was a huge, come to your inner self and say, there was this invisible enemy that could strike you down at any time. There was a war and it was invisible, and what are you going to do if this is your time, right? But in hindsight we'll see what really meant.
Yeah, right. You can watch my film instead, right? Ixnay on the Ubble tray that's going on in Ukraine. We'll watch
Well, but the thing is that what we're talking about is that these people are, and what you're doing is a way for us to know we're not alone. We are not alone. We have angelic support, and this isn't just religious stuff. This is the truth of it. We have support that the angels are sitting around. It's like, wonder if he's ever going to ask for any help. Um,
it. Yeah, yeah.
right? I mean, we are not alone. we have our relatives, we have angelic support, and you can hear when you listen to these people talk about when they go to the other side and there's family there, there's angel there, or there's something that actually there's an incredible peace and love there that is so hard to explain. But once you've experienced it, you're forever transformed.
Yeah, yeah. And I forgot who it was. I think it might have been Jennifer Dean told me because you really don't have to have a near death experience to feel what you just described. Okay. Oh, look who just came on.
Yeah, I tagged him. I tagged him.
Okay. All right.
And
Yeah.
now Brooke is saying hi, Peter. So, hi guys. So I just love the idea that they're as excited about getting the message out as you are. Peter has done so much stuff. He's so well educated. He can tell you each book that he read, and he's amazing. Besides telling you his story.
Well, you know what happened when I met him? He was actually he was the first one that I went to see, and I drove all the way to Maine. It's like a 10-hour drive, and we were setting up, and oh my gosh, we had to set up the lights and the audio and the camera, and we adjusted it and blah blah blah. It took, and he just sat there and was totally at peace, and he didn't get fidgety at all. He just let us do our work, and then finally we said action, and he was ready to go.
Yep.
That is a person who is at peace. um, and he walks around barefoot all the time. And after that, I went on my way home to Maryland. I live in Maryland, and on the way home from Maine, I stopped off in New Jersey to film Jennifer Dean, and she was walking around in barefoot too. I think, what is it with these Indies? I guess they
They're
want to feel the
earthing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Well, so tell us the the biggest takeaway that you had from doing this
was
was
Peter Panagore's suggestion to handle this thing while we're here on Earth and the people that you hurt, so they don't have to go through it, and you don't, and I don't have to go through it when we pass away. That was
see,
it. But there's so many things that people can take away from this film. This film is going to help everybody, really.
right. Well, I want to ask somebody on LinkedIn asked how did you fund your film? Is this all self-funded?
It's all self-funded. I make a living videotaping weddings and parties and making website videos. I make a fine living that way, but this is all just me. I'm not charging a penny. This is just funded by me.
Wow.
All of my documentary films are that way.
I'm going to put this on too. Beloved James, thank you for openly sharing your heart guided medicinal art with the world in the midst of profound transformation. Yep. Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brooke.
Brooke. Yeah. I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to really go and look at this and keep an eye on James, because I think you're going to see he's just beginning his incredible journey of showing us the way that we can find love, and also the way that we can realize how powerful we really are, and that we're so much more than we know. Thank you,
Thank you
James.
so much. It was a pleasure.